What's up, my Wizards dev? That's BMTG down there, youtube.com. We like magic and stuff. Today, day 2 of official Eldritch Moon spoilers from the mothership at Wizards.com. Got some cool-ish today. Not anywhere near as powerful as the stuff we got yesterday, but there's a lot to talk about today. So let's go ahead and launch right into it. Don't want to waste too much time. I'll go ahead and talk about what, as of the recording of this video, is the card that everyone's been talking about today. This is Lone Rider right here. Lone Rider is a 2-mana that's 1 and a white for a 1/1 human knight with first strike and lifelink. Not a bad deal. At the beginning of the end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, you transform Lone Rider. He transforms into, love this name, It That Rides as One. It's an Eldrazi horror. It's a 4/4 first strike, trample, and lifelink. There's a lot to talk about with this card. It's got a lot of people very, very excited, but I want to temper that, I like to ask, is it good, rather than just saying it's definitely good, So, is this good or not? Now, before we talk about Standard, people are saying that it might have some impact in the Modern Soul Sisters deck. If there's a home for it in Modern, it's definitely in Soul Sisters, but I'm not sure. Super tight deck list, it's already got a lot of the pieces it wants, and Pridemate is probably a better piece than this is, especially for long game. So I'm just not really sure that it slots in or that it fits, but again, if it has a home in Modern, it's definitely Soul Sisters. Now, as far as Standard goes, that's usually my bag, so let's talk about that. Standard already has a few decks this could slot into, namely Black-White Allies. The Ailey decks sort of exist on the fringes. And then, it's a human. It's got a super relevant creature type, so it fits into any of the White X humans decks. Problems are present, though. It seems like the decks that want this card, White X humans, either mono-white or white-red, white-green humans, all those decks, definitely, they already don't play a premium 2-drop. They don't play Hanwar Militia Captain, which is great for those decks, but they just can't fit that card in. I feel like this card could, have the same fate, honestly. I just don't know that it's good enough to slot into those decks. And the deck is looking to sort of replace Console's Lieutenant, because the deck will usually play 2 copies of Console's Lieutenant, both mono-white and white-red humans. So it's looking to replace a 2-drop, but I think if Militia Captain isn't good enough to replace Console's Lieutenant, I don't know that this will be either. There's just no immediate impact, and it's not super reliable. Something else, though, that people are talking about as far as Standard, and I think probably the best way to play the card, is to play it alongside Ojutai's Command. It's really good with Ojutai's Command, right? I mean, you gain 4 life with the command, and you can bring this back in from your graveyard to play, you pass the turn, and on your end step, it'll transform into the 4/4 with all the stupid abilities. So that seems good, but right now in Standard, and for a long time coming, we're going to have Sylvan Advocate. We're going to have Advocate the whole time Ojutai's Command is in Standard. So, Advocate probably a better target, especially if you have the 6 lands. I mean, 1 toughness makes a huge difference, is all I'm saying. A 4 toughness guy is good, but not great in a format where Languish and Grasp of Darkness are the most popular removal pieces. So I don't know how this card's going to end up. What I want to compare it to is Lambholt Pacifist. Lambholt Pacifist is also a 2-mana 4/4 that you have to work to get it to its 4/4 status. As far as that comparison goes, I still say Pacifist may actually be the better card. I mean, it's already a 3/3. You don't have to work to get it to be a 3/3. This comes into play as a 1/1, and any removal in the entire format is going to take care of it. And I'm not really sure about it. I do, again, like it with Ojutai's Command. You can use it as a blocker early and then get it back later and make it huge. So definitely things, I think it was a Blessed Alliance that we saw yesterday that looks like it could work really, really well with this card. And there's some things, I've already mentioned Ailey. There's Cathar's Blessing, which I don't think is good enough to really be the trick you want to be doing with this card. But we have things, obviously, in Standard that gain us life. I just don't know if it's reliable early in the game, which is what we want to do. We want to play this turn 2, turn 3, go ahead and transform it during the end step. But it may actually prove fairly tough. Overall, I definitely don't rule out Standard play for this creature. I don't at all. We may have to see a rotation. I'm not really sure as far as that's concerned. Night of the White Orchid is going to rotate out, and that's a really important 2-drop for white decks. This card may take its place. Entirely possible. I'm just not, again, I'm a little on the fence. You can tell I'm ambivalent because I really, really want to like this card. I love Knight of Metagrains, one of my favorite white creatures of all time. But this is not quite that, although obviously it has potential to be better. You just have to get it to work, which is the issue, So at the end of the day, what's the verdict? Do I think it'll see Standard play? I'm giving it like a 60% chance. I'm a little more than halfway, sure that it's going to see some Standard play. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people tried to make it work early on in the format. And if it doesn't work, we'll never see it again. But if it does work, it's the new Seeker of the Way. So fingers crossed. Well, that was that card. That card's really interesting. Here's some cards that I guess some people might think are interesting. These are the intro pack rares for the set. These are all spoiled today too. And note that these are the last intro pack rares that there ever will be ever. There's not going to be intro packs after this. Starting with Kaladesh, they're doing the Planeswalker packs. So how did they make the last intro pack rares ever good? You'd be the judge. First thing here is Noosegraph Mob. This is a 6 mana that's 4 and 2 black for a 0/0 zombie that enters the battlefield with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. And whenever a player casts a spell, you remove a +1/+1 counter from Noosegraph Mob. If you do, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. I'll leave the graphic up while I talk about these because I don't have too much to say. I feel like this card is fairly bad. You know, it's very expensive. 6 mana 5/5 is not great, and although it does spawn zombies, I'm not really sure that this is where we want to be for that much mana. There's way better options. Same thing with this next one, the red intro pack rare, Assembled Alphas. Assembled Alphas is a wolf. That's probably the coolest thing about it. It's a 6 mana that's 5 and a red for a 5/5 wolf, and whenever Assembled Alphas blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Assembled Alpha deals 3 damage to that creature and 3 damage to that creature's controller. This, honestly, this thing screams intro pack rare, right? I mean, definitely somewhat powerful in like casual formats, but will never see the light of day in Constructed. It's just not there for 6 mana. That's the problem a lot of these have. Here's another 6 mana intro pack rare. It's the green one. This is Ulvenwald Observer. It's 6 mana. That's 4 and 2 green for a 6/6. At least it's on curve. It's a tree folk. And whenever a creature you control with toughness 4 or greater dies, draw a card. Now, some people might want to abuse something like this, but end of the day, it just doesn't have the gas it needs to have. You know, we've got better things that draw cards for cheaper mana in this color even. So I just don't. It's bad. You know, if you're going to play 6 mana creatures in green, you could just play the Hydra. That'd be way better. On to, though, the two I think that are slightly above par for intro pack rares. This is Sanctifier of Souls. It's 4 mana. That's 3 and a white for a 2/3 human cleric. With whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Sanctifier of Souls gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It also has 2 and a white and exile a creature card from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying on the battlefield. I actually really like both abilities that this card has, but again, it's got the problem where we've got way better stuff at 4 mana in white. We just saw Gisela yesterday. We've got obviously Gideon too, so just way better stuff. And even for like the Spirits tribal deck, this isn't great. It's not a spirit itself, you know. I feel like there's definitely value you can get out of this guy. It's just not quite there, and he's very removable for a 4 mana creature. But moving on to the last intro pack rare, and my favorite by a lot, actually. This is Nibillus of Frost. It's 4 mana, that's 2 and 2 blue for a 3/3 spirit with flying and prowess. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next. I've always liked cards like this. I like the fact that it's got prowess, and whenever you prowess, you tap a guy down for 2 whole, turn sequences. That's pretty good. So I like Nibillus. I don't think it's got the legs, for real constructed play, but just from a casual standpoint, I think this is easily the best intro pack rare. It's got a form of removal built into the card. It can become a fairly big flyer if you play a couple of spells. If you do play a couple of spells, you tap down a lot of their team. So there's good things about the card, even with it being as removable as it is. I'm a fan, but I don't think any standard play. Next up, we got a couple of cards that are part of a cycle, and we've only seen 2 cards in the cycle, and we don't even know if it's a complete cycle, but usually things like this are. First one I want to talk about is this right here. This is Take Inventory. It's 1 and a blue, that's 2 mana, for a sorcery, which is dumb. Draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Take Inventory in your graveyard. Well, here we see yet another thing that wants you to have specific named cards. I hated that about the meld mechanic. The thing about this, though, is that this is basically a fixed, quote-unquote fixed, accumulated knowledge, and I hate that they tried to fix it. Accumulated knowledge with instant speed, and it gave you cards for the number of accumulated knowledges in all graveyards. Now, if you wanted to fix it, I could see taking off the all graveyards thing, because you don't want to pay 2 mana and draw 5 cards. That's busted. but you could have left it instant speed. You know, blue is not very playable right now in standard, and nothing we've seen so far makes it incredibly playable, you know. So blue really needs, and Wedge talked about this too, blue really needs a good, cheap card draw spell. And honestly, I feel like people will still play Anticipate over this, and I know that this will end up drawing you 4 cards if you got 3 in the graveyard, but that's a long shot. It really is a long shot. We've got things in standard right now that put cards into our graveyard. You know, people are saying maybe Sultai, Delirium maybe for a card like this. I don't even know. I just hate sorcery speed on it. I'm used to Accumulated Knowledge, which is more of a great card for control decks. Great draw piece for those decks. This, though, is not that. They've gone to great lengths to make it not Accumulated Knowledge. And so I'm just not sure. Maybe I'm just seeing it through, you know, the wrong lens here, and it actually is good. But I am not a fan, guys. So, to cleanse our palates, or at least my palate, I can't stand that card. But anyway, I just really wanted to be Accumulated Knowledge. But here is the other card in that cycle, and I think this card, actually good. So let's take a look at it. This is Galvanic Bombardment. Really, really cumbersome, long name for a cheap removal spell. But anyway, Galvanic Bombardment is just 1 red mana for an instant, and it deals X damage to target creature, where X is 2 plus the number of cards named Galvanic Bombardment in your graveyard. Now this is a little bit more like it right here. I like this card actually a lot, and I feel like it'll be a good replacement for Fiery Impulse when it rotates, when Kaladesh comes out. Fiery Impulse will leave in September 30th to be exact. I feel like this is a good replacement for it. You know, it can deal up to 5 damage, although that is probably never going to happen. But, you know, usually this will do 2, 3, or even sometimes 4 damage for you. And that can be very good for just the 1 mana, you know. I don't know that it's better than Fiery Impulse, I really don't. But I do like that it's akin to Fiery Impulse. You know, it's a thing that does 2 damage very early in the game, and then after you've done a little bit of work, it can do even more for you. So reminiscent of Impulse. And again, I just think it'll be a great replacement. Wizards doesn't want to give us things this cheap that hit the player. You know, so we can lament that all day. We all want cheap burn back. You know, Wizards says it's not fun, but how could it not be fun if literally everybody wants it back? So, you know, anyway. We're not going to get cheap burn that hits the player, so if we're not going to get that, this is probably the best thing we could ask for. I do like the card. Speaking of cards I like, this is Grizzled Angler right here. I just love the flavor of this card. Grizzled Angler is a 3 mana that is 2 and a blue for a 2/3 human. With tap, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then, if there is a colorless creature card in your graveyard, you transform Grizzled Angler. He transforms into Grizzly Anglerfish, excuse me. That's an Eldrazi fish, which is hilarious. It's a 4/5, and it has 6 generic mana. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. I really, really love this guy. Like, I love that he's a fisherman. I love the flavor of that. I don't know why I like that he's a fisherman. I just like that about the card. But I like the flavor, too. Like, I don't think he's transforming into this fish. I think the fish is eating him. I think that he's like, I love the flavor text, too, you know, the lure of the sea. And, by the way, that's supposed to be a pun. Lure of the sea. He's a fisherman. All of this is hilarious. But I think he's being eaten by this giant Eldrazi fish. People are actually making rumblings that this is good in Standard. And I don't believe that. I mean, people are saying like it's a 3-mana 4/5 and it survives Languish and Grasp and it's really good. But when you think about the actual deck this would have to go into to be good, I don't know, man. Like, it has to be an almost all Eldrazi themed deck. And, you know, you have to shoehorn this in here. It's not an Eldrazi itself before it transforms. There's things I don't like about it. I think 3 mana is really cumbersome, honestly, for this. There's things I like and things I don't. I definitely understand that it survives Languish and Grasp. That's pretty cool. It's only 3 mana. That's not bad either. But you have to do a lot of work, and it's not guaranteed to flip or anything. So I'm going to take a pass on the card as far as functionality. But flavor-wise, just slam dunk. Love this card. This next card, and we're almost there, this is the next to last card, the penultimate card, is going to require a translation, and it's the only card, according to Mythic Spoiler, that didn't come from Wizards today. So keep that in mind. But Mythic Spoiler is always pretty on point, and they've never let me down before. So this is Influence d'Emrakul, which it's obviously Influence of Emrakul, and I'm sorry about my fake French accent. I'm actually part French, and I cannot do a French accent, so I'm sorry, viewers in France, which I think I have a couple of. But anyway, Influence of Emrakul is 4 mana, that's 2 and 2 green for an enchantment. With every time you cast an Eldrazi creature spell with converted mana cost greater than or equal to 7, you draw 2 cards. I don't think the card's very good. That's really all I could say about it, you know. I don't have to say too much more. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody loves this card, you know, maybe it's good in ramp. You know, you play it alongside your Ulamogs and your World Breakers and stuff, and you draw a bunch of cards. I don't even think it's really good there, to be honest with you. So, I don't know what to tell you guys. I feel like the card is kind of meh. Here's the final card of the day, and I saved this one for last because I'm kind of excited about it for like nerdy reasons. But I don't think it's the best card ever or anything. I'm excited about it. This is Docent of Perfection right here. It's 5 mana, that's 3 and 2 blue, for a 5/4 insect horror with flying. It's got whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard creature token onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 3 or more wizards, transform Docent of Perfection. It transforms into Final Iteration. See what I did there? It's the last card of the day. Final Iteration is a 6/5 Eldrazi insect with flying. And check this out. Wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying. It's also got the same ability the front face does. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 blue human wizard creature token onto the battlefield. So what's up, my Wizards? Wizards finally gets to be a budget creature type in Standard again that has some relevance, and that's awesome. Always love Wizard as a creature type. That's why we're all here. It's because magic. But anyway, and also EDH really will like this. Commander people will probably love this card, I would imagine. So really exciting. I can't wait to start cooking up budget Wizard decks and going through magicinfo.com and being like, okay, what's a Wizard in this Standard? Because we haven't had to care about that in a really long time. And like I said, I don't think the card's the best thing in the world. You know, you'd have to do some work to flip it. It's not going to transform until like turn 6 or whatever. So I definitely don't think the card is amazing. But it's going to be really, really fun to build up budget stuff around this card. Like, really fun. And again, Commander, it's probably great in that format. So let me know how you feel about this, because I can't wait to get brewing, honestly. That's all the cards for today, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wizards tried to sneak a couple under the radar tonight. But in any case, I'm Dev from SBMTG. If you enjoyed the content, do all the YouTube stuff. You know, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you like it, like it. Sub if you want more. Do all the things. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm Dev. Again, I think I've already told you my name, but I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my Wizards.